Hi, everybody. 92 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Pulled from his room, and code red, and there's no doubt in our minds, Team Find Richard Halliday. There's no doubt in our minds that he was murdered. Um, and it was organized, and it was code red, and uh, that's not our assessment of it. That was Lalani Hart's assessment of our son's situation. And she absolutely knows a lot about what happened to our son, along with Tavita Nusa, along with Dallas Hart, along with James Hart, along with Jay Paulin, along with Belen Rocha, Danae Katzen, and many others like Thomas Kane, like Ann Ogle, um, like Marlon Soto, Dirty Agent, Marlon Soto. Um, and I would say even the generals, they know. And I want to make it very, very clear that Team Find Richard Halliday did not put out there that Richard was a code red. That was Lalani Hart. And it was Lalani Hart that has exposed the crime and, confessed to her own crimes. This is, and there's no doubt about it because she she had her criminal complaint affidavit notarized, and we talked to the notary. He absolutely corroborated that she signed that criminal complaint affidavit. And he said more, and he said more, like so many other victims, like so many others, that said that like the judge, that she needs to have a mental health evaluation, that something is not clicking right, and that even James Hart in the divorce proceedings, um, and you know, um, things are going through my mind when I'm thinking about their divorce proceedings, that he has called for and requested a mental health evaluation of his wife, Lalani Hart. Um, and, many have called her crazy. I didn't call her crazy. They called her crazy because they were victims under her craziness. And, I've called Fort Bliss and the leadership insane. And so I understand why when they're misled, when they're deceived, that, you know, um, and all these false allegations are made, and a false narrative is made, well, how they would call it crazy and not reality. And so, by the witnesses, Lalani Hart is not living in reality. How did that get here? And how, uh, there's a problem. There's a problem with all of that because um, I talked to James Hart. I know that Marlon Soto talked to James Hart. I don't understand how that happened, but it happened. And James Hart was addressed. This is the breaking news by law enforcement, and asked, "Are you aware that your wife is accusing you?" And this is not just a little accusation. This is a notarized criminal complaint affidavit that has been accepted by the CID, that has been assigned a number. Like this, this was assigned a number. Our case was assigned a number now, our complaints, by the IG. So that's more institutional support. So that's really awesome. Um, yeah, that's kind of breaking news. That is breaking news, isn't it? It is breaking news. But He was asked, James Hart was asked if he was aware uh, that his wife, Leilani Hart, who's a convicted criminal, and not just convicted criminal, but that she has a history of, a judge saying she needs to have her mental health evaluated because something is not right. Something is not right, and she is disrupting society. She's disrupting society. She's causing chaos wherever she goes, right? This is this is what we're hearing. Everywhere she goes, she is disrupting society. And, so a mental health institution is for those that cannot live in society because they disrupt it in violent and, uh, just always using the law enforcement to manipulate. And those are resources that, should be looking after crimes, not chasing after false allegations. So I'm looking on here. So I see everyone. Thank you so much, Anicia. Oh, Mitzi, thank you so much for coming on. And Alina, I hope I'm saying your name right. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on. They finally realized you're not going anywhere and not backing down. That's right. They wanted to close down this whole case. And now, we're receiving threats, we're receiving institutional support. So it's both ways. When you start receiving institutional support, you also receive some harassment and threats, And I think they've realized that, we've already made up our mind. We've already made up our mind that this case is so big. This case is so big and exposes so much crime that we have to take a stand. And that stand um, is a dangerous stand. You're risking. You have to I guess accept that somebody has to do it, right? Somebody has to do it because our government officials, if $33 trillion is not going to do it, then maybe, you know, uh, someone little, I'm just a little mom. I'm just a little mom. I stay at home mom, work from home mom, wife, support my husband. Um, you know, very traditional, very traditional. If I can do something to help in the process of getting answers for my son, then because what is the choice? I will do it. I will do it. Here I am. Here I stand. I will do it. And that's how my husband and I have felt. This is not something that we're like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely very dangerous and huge. When we went to the first meetings and we saw that the generals were unprepared, when we saw and heard what was going on in the barracks, when we saw TikToks and videos and screenshots, and when we were standing in front of people that we absolutely knew were lying to us, smearing our son, trying to direct the narrative, trying to direct us and in every which way, and we just went along to see what was going on, who is who in all of this, who is who, because they're all up to no good. They're all up to no good. Um, I shouldn't say all, but most. Most were all. Were not. Jay Paulins was up to no good. Belen Rocha up to no good. Danae Katzen, who was very very good. We felt like maybe she was someone that came in and saw something, but no. Very quickly, well, not very quickly, it took a while, we learned she's up to no good, and now we know that she is related. She's very closely related. Uh, you know, 3905 Bliss Avenue, Rochas, Katzens, Ortegas, um, Soto, these names attached to this property and also to 3705 um, Bliss Avenue. And those are interesting properties too, with interesting history. So, it look, I have a family tree that I put together years ago. And so I knew that they were related. This gives extra hard evidence that they're related. They're absolutely related. So many people at the beginning, were up to no good. And the lack of information that was given to us was also telling, right? It was very clear that they were hiding things. And so we, had to make a decision what we were going to do. Were we going to sacrifice, just say, okay, well, you could do whatever you want with our son. And at that point, we didn't realize how brutally they murdered him. And why? Because we didn't even realize he was a whistleblower at the time. Um, and, so we were supposed to just say, oh, maybe he's out there somewhere. Maybe he's out there. No, they brutally murdered him. Okay? They dismembered him. And we absolutely are so thankful, humbly thankful, that God has kept us going to, be around to see Leilani Hart expose this, because many people have exposed little things, right? Through all their irregularities. We have the dirty agent Marlon Soto, we have the dirty agent Tavita Nusa, but Leilani Hart has really exposed so much. The code red, the her son being Richard's platoon leader, um, the tampering with Richard's file, the leaking of Richard's file. That wasn't just us dreaming, it actually was happening. The crimes going on, that the crimes were about weapons. Absolutely, they're about weapons illegal trafficking or smuggling of weapons. That, this is about child pornography. This is about being a child sex predator. This is about incest. This is about a mental health illness, because you can't have that kind of atmosphere and not be mentally affected by all of that. Okay. Um, you just can't. You can't be, raped at the age of 7 continuously, and forced to rape others, and, even your friend's child, or, you just can't be involved in that lifestyle. And now, the argument is those are not true, but there hasn't been an arrest. There hasn't been a criminal complaint. And this is our breaking news. She exposed all of that. I didn't expose all of that. She exposed all of that. And the CID believed it had some teeth, right? And I'm sure Tavita Nusa helped her. She was having an affair with Tavita Nusa. Um, and it would be right and good if he would come on here and tell us what he knows, right? It would be really right, and to say, oh yeah, she was just trying to get even with her family. I don't know, because nobody has been arrested. Dallas Hart wasn't arrested because he played a part in that. James Hart has not been arrested, and Leilani Hart has not been arrested. Nobody's been arrested for, this notarized criminal complaint affidavit, which we talked to the notary. Absolutely, he backed up so many things that were happening. Okay, that were in this complaint, as far as her signing it and more and more. Um, and the breaking news is that, and I know this because James Hart even told me this, so I know this firsthand, that he was called by the law enforcement agencies. And, so today is that he was asked, "Are you aware of these allegations?" And he said, "Yes, I'm aware of them." Are you aware that, because she was threatening to kill him, okay, or to have him killed. She was threatening. This is the news that we were getting. So, what does that tell you? This family was in chaos. That living in Hawaii around her, because she had to move from different neighborhood to different. They had to move different houses because of the chaos in that neighborhood that she would bring with her. She cannot live in society, right? She has proved that over and over again, that she cannot live in society. And people are afraid of her. Why? Why are they afraid of her? That's the question. And maybe that's why it took us, this our little family, to say, well, hey, listen to what this lady has to say. Why isn't she being arrested if this is false information? Why aren't people, saying, backing up James Hart or Dallas Hart in all of this, and not just keyboard warriors, right? Not just with threats and whatever, but going to the law enforcement and pressing charges against Lonnie Hart. That would be the proper thing to do. You can't just damage a person with saying they are a lawless child predator, committing incest and buying weapons illegally, all of these felony charges, right? And not press charges against that person. And the law enforcement, the FBI, this has an FBI case number, also a CID case number. So you have two agencies that have thought this had some teeth, right? That they were afraid to go tell her to pound sand, like the agency just did, with the complaint that she assaulted them, right? And she wanted to come and say, "Oh no, that's false." They said, "Go and pound sand." So, the FBI did not do that with these complaints. So this is very serious. And what does this have to do with us? Why do I have to talk about this? Because this is part of Richard's case. She was tampering with Richard's case. She is the mother of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, right? She was deleting video, tampering with video. This is the allegations against her, that they went to an extreme to stop this witness, to intimidate the witness. So this is not, I am just repeating what is going on in our son's case. I have no control over what is in Richard's case. Okay? I do know this, that they scrubbed it from the field grade Article 15. I do know this, they scrubbed it from the chapter 14. They scrubbed it. Now, that's interesting, right? So I can only report on what is going on in Richard's case. And that's making some people nervous because it exposes Dallas Hart. It exposes James Hart. I did not give James Hart the job at the VA. He had that. And it was not me that said that he was stealing Social Security numbers and training or coaching veterans on how to get disability, right? The disability benefits, that he was manipulating things over there in his position at the VA with the IDES Pablo. That was Leilani Hart. I didn't even know where James worked. Leilani Hart exposed those crimes. She has a vendetta against her husband. And her husband was asked, do you know that she has a vendetta against you? Do you know that she wants to have you killed or she wants to kill you? That's what she's talking about. And that, these are, so she's made these complaints and he's like, yes, I'm aware. I'm aware of the accusations. I'm aware that she wants to do bodily harm to me. I'm aware that, she wants to have me arrested or whatever. And then they ask him, do you want to press charges? And he says, no. No. Now, that has ramifications. Maybe he's trying to protect her, but maybe he's trying to protect himself, because if he presses charges, they have to investigate, right? There has to be discovery. But to decline pressing charges against her also has ramifications, because then, it's like, okay, well, are these true? Is this true? And he is because she's the one that also revealed that he's having an affair with Lisa Lennon Williams, which is illegal for him as a, government employee. There's so many, so many things wrong here and on Fort Bliss. And so thank God the IG is like, okay, we're listening to you now. We're listening. And so that's great news, because why is this important in Richard's case? Because Richard was a whistleblower. He was making the complaints. He was making complaints to Child Protective Services. If Dallas Hart, if this is all true and it needs to be investigated, if it's all true that he is a child sex predator, just a lawless child sex predator, in so many ways with the child pornography and everything, and the incest. And, if you haven't read that criminal complaint affidavit, he's like forcing his children to do unspeakable things, which is, so humiliating in front of your father. And, how do they get through that without mental health issues? How does the children, so it's like, okay, do they have mental health issues? That would be a question that I would ask, because if you are made to do these things and you don't, that's questionable. Well, if you have healthy children and they have a healthy mental status, then I would say, no, these are fabricated, these are false allegations. But if you have children that have a history of mental illness and criminal behavior, or like, let's say, bipolar behavior, where they just have these huge swings, then, that would corroborate this kind of accusations, right? That would corroborate this kind of accusations. And that's why I contacted Dallas Hart's football coach at the very beginning to say, can you give me a character analysis of Dallas Hart? He's Richard's platoon leader, right? And his mother has accused the father and the household of, unspeakable things. I didn't tell that to the coach, but I'm like, okay, let's get a character assessment here and let's see. So, and that's how I first, because Dallas Hart then um, contacted me to say, well, why are you asking about my character? You know, so that's how that started. But yeah, it's important to know, and it's important to know if he has mental health problems, a history of it, um, if he has a criminal history, then that would show up in the disclosure to the military, because in order to get into the military you have to disclose that criminal history or the mental health issues that you have. It doesn't disqualify you from going into the military, that necessarily. They would have to assess it, but you would have to disclose it, and especially if you are getting government funding, right? Like in a green to gold program, you would have to disclose that, right? Because Americans want to know what they're getting for their money, right? And they want the most for their money. And that's not really happening, but um anyway, so that's why this is really um important for everyone to understand that Team Fire Richard Halliday didn't know any of this until the witness um, said, "Look, this lady, Leilani Hart, and her lover Tavita Nusa is tampering with your son's case, tampering with the files." Um, And so that was a CID complaint also. That was an FBI complaint also. That went to the command complaint also. Now, it's been scrubbed from Richard's file when it was transferred up to Quantico. Why? Why was the key witness scrubbed from Richard's file? Right? So we had to work hard to uh, let them know that there is a key witness, and that key witness has been retaliated against. That key witness has been tampered with, has been intimidated and blocked. And so that's been hard work, because with that name, Leilani Hart, Tavita Nusa, we were able, as the investigators of our son's case, to confirm that they were indeed um, messing with Richard's file, even though dirty agent Marlon Soto was like, oh no, whatever. We still were able to confirm it, and we have it through, like Thomas Kane. That was very important. Um, and also because Tavita Nusa lost his badge, he was separated from the army, and they've tried to cover things up. But if you're just do a little bit of diligence in the investigation, you can find all this information. And now Dallas Hart has been separated from the army as well. And he went green to gold. You don't go green to gold and then separate from the army to pursue your flying, and then all the flying that you did there in the El Paso area, you scrub it and start all over. Nothing makes sense here. And Leilani Hart, not none of the people in her family pressing charges against her for those accusations in that notarized criminal complaint affidavit is also very telling. And it's not that they do not press charges against Leilani Hart, their mother, okay? Because there is a history of the family making criminal complaints about her. So it's not like they have this certain rule in their family to not make criminal complaints on each other. They have in the past. But on this criminal complaint, they did not. So that is also something that has, like, okay, raised our eyebrows and went, oh my gosh, they're not hesitant to put in a criminal complaint, to press charges. But in this case, they didn't. So why not? Why not? Because it has really, in my, if it involves a missing soldier, you would think that they would really want to come clean and, you know, um, tell it like it is in official documentation, because we can't, at Team Find Richard Halliday anymore, just take someone's word for it, okay? Because we have been lied to and manipulated and harassed so much, and information, which I will talk about too, has been kept from us. We've been lied to by the head of the IG, Lieutenant General Donna Martin. We have been lied to repeatedly by Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. We have been lied to by so many in this that probably 2 years ago, we decided, no, we need people to put things in writing, and they hate to do it. That's why this pile here is so important, because it's in writing now. To put things in writing, to have a signature, to have a watermark, to make it official, their response, right? And I think that Dallas Hart could write us a letter like David Park did, even though David Park, that didn't do him any favors, but it did us, because it really revealed the situation in the unit, the attitude in the unit, and the attitude against Richard, the whole legal attitude, what they were trying to do. It really was very interesting. So, for Dallas Hart, for James Hart, and I know James Hart, he wrote me, he was sick and tired. He says these are lies. Well, write me. Write Team Find Richard Halliday, sign your name, or better yet, go to the police, go to the CID, go to Agent Veltri, right, in Quantico, who's looking over this case. Go to them, and I can give you the email, and write them. Better yet, get the address so you can have a signature. Do it right. This is, this is really important. This is worth your time. I mean, you've been accused of incest. You've been accused of being a child predator, of child pornography, purchasing weapons illegally. And we have the person that you were purchasing weapons from, and the gunsmith. This is really important to clarify. So, and I think Dallas Hart needs to do it too, because it seems that there's a history, and that had to be disclosed to the military through the green to gold. And, I know all of this could be cleared up with letters, with communication. And Do I have doubts about your character? 100% I have doubts. Oh my gosh. I have doubts. So why don't you clear it up? Um, and, uh, because we're talking about the murder of Richard. And if we, Team Farm Richard Halliday, feel like you're part of it, that the Hart family has been part of the murder of our son, then we have every right to discuss this situation. And we do. We feel at this point we have enough evidence that the jury would convict Dallas Hart. And, so we're talking about very serious crimes. I think I've just been with the harassment or with, whatever. That doesn't do any good. I know Halloween's coming up. Maybe it's a Halloween, whatever. Bad spirit of Halloween. But Halloween wasn't always like that. Halloween is not about the evil spirits. And to me anyway, because it's All Hallows Eve. All Hallows Eve, right? That's Halloween. And, you can say it's about the people that died during the flood, All Hallows Eve. But the next day is All Saints Day, and it's really preparing to think and be grateful for the saints that have come before us. So when I was a kid, we didn't get all ghoulish and things like that, and I don't remember a lot of other people, maybe a few here and there, but we were firemen, we were bakers, we were people in community that wanted to do something good, like the saints that have come before us. That's what All Hallows Eve was. And you got candies, and it was just really loads of fun. So now it's gotten a dark spirit. It's gotten this dark spirit because we've been uh, led by leadership that have dark spirits. They really do, and that's why we have uh, a child a sex trafficking problem. That's why we have rape problems. That's why we have sexual harassment problems. That's why we have the gun smuggling problems. That's why we have the endless war problems. That's why we have the debt problems, right? That's why we have the theft, the inflation problems. That's why, because we're led by people with a bad spirit. And this is a spiritual warfare. That's how I feel. It's a spiritual warfare, and who's going to stand up against it? And, um, you know, we're sure not going to just look the other way while they murder our son, right? And then they cover it up. And so that gets into, I have a lot of questions here. Let me read through them real quick. Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for your prayers, Anicia, Mitzi. Thank you so much. They finally realized. Yes, thank you. I've always wondered if Leilani gave Richard Halliday the sex video from her house and tried to have Richard Halliday turn over the video to CID for her. Then that's why she filed the report, also because she knew Richard Halliday had already turned in the video, it seems, in my opinion. Yeah, that's a possibility. And yeah, all dirty laundry will come out if he does. Yeah. Um, well, because he did not, declined pressing charges on her, that raises a lot of red flags for me. I don't know if it does for you, but it does for me, because he has, I mean, he's not protecting his children then. This criminal affidavit that was notarized is absolutely destructive to their children. Okay? to their children's mental health, to their grandchildren. I don't know if they have grandchildren, but just so destructive to their children. And, so, who's going to protect the family? James Hart should, maybe I'm old school, right? I'm old school. It was always my dad. My dad would step forward to protect the family. Um, my husband would step forward to protect the family. You wouldn't believe what he's done around here to protect the family. Um, so uh, you, you would think that James Hart would want to protect his family, right? And, if he has some rogue wife that is, set on destroying their children, you would think that he would press charges. So, but he hasn't. He declined that. And that is, that's very telling. And that lays a lot of motive because Richard was making those complaints. Okay. And Leilani Hart and Belen Rocha and Danae Katzen, they all know each other, y'all. They are all in their little gang, in their criminal little gang. They know each other and they work for each other and everything, and they are protecting their assets. They're protecting their way of life. Whether we agree with it or not, they're protecting it. And Richard came in and blew the whistle on them and threatened their what they have established, whether we like it or not. But the fact is, it was criminal. Okay? It was criminal. And so if the word got out too far, then the threat was real. Right? Because if he didn't like what they were doing, but what they were doing was legal, then, oh, well, they could tell him to go and hit the road. But because what they were doing with the weapon smuggling, with the child pornography, the child sex trafficking, the narcotics trafficking, the stealing of social security numbers and using it, the stealing of identity. I cannot tell you that everything makes sense when you know that they're stealing identity, because it makes investigating more difficult, right? Because they're using other people's names to do the things that they want to do, because they have criminal histories or they have mental health histories, health illnesses, mental health illness histories. And so, if you want to get into get a badge, a law enforcement badge, you don't want to give them your social security number with all that history. So you're going to use others. So the stealing of identity, and right away at the very beginning of this case, when Richard's identity was stolen, we have proof that Richard's identity was stolen. And we cannot forget that Richard's Interpol picture has Dallas Hart's face all over it. Why is Dallas Hart's face all over Richard's Interpol picture, right? It's and I say it with such surety because all the proportions are wrong for Richard when you do the forensic measurements, but yet they're all right. All of the proportions match when you do the forensics for Dallas Hart. Why is that? Right? That is just very telling. So, this case involves the Hart family. And the Hart family has some real dirty laundry. Whether all those accusations and allegations are true or not, it is a fact that she made those accusations. It is a fact that she wanted to do bodily harm to her own husband. Okay? We have that hard evidence. It's a fact that she was having an affair with Tavita Nusa in the CID. It's a fact backed up by institutional support now that Marlon Soto is a dirty agent, that Tavita Nusa is a dirty agent. Okay? And it's a fact that they wanted to cover up that Dallas Hart is Richard's platoon leader, and that the military did everything that they could to cover that up, to scrub that from the internet, right? But they were a little too slow. They were a little too slow. And to intimidate people, in the unit, in the Army, and that they were intimidating people. So, and then we have the Pearl C-Class Mercedes. And, so the evidence is just piling up. And this is serious, because I believe that Texas, and somebody can confirm that for me, please, but I think another inmate was put to death. I think today or yesterday. So we have 2 death sentence. And we also have this mental health problem. And, you can be institutionalized. And the institutions are not nice. They're not nice. So this is a serious case. And you just, let me get into Kilometer 29, the institutional support that we're getting from that, because there is real connections with this family, right? With this group of people, with this gang, or whatever you want to call them, with Kilometer 29. And that's why re-looking at Kilometer 29 is so important, because it's with a fresh set of information. Okay? It's looking differently at Kilometer 29. It's investigating differently than in 2021, March 2021, right? It's a whole new set of information, a whole new, in March of 2021. I don't even think I knew about Leilani Hart at that time, right? We didn't even know about her. We didn't know about Dallas Hart. So this is and we didn't know about the Katzens and the Ortegas and the Rochas and the other case. And we didn't know about the tactical move storage units. We didn't know about other things going on. So this is with new information, with a new strategy. We're going to re-look at Kilometer 29. And it's very important because of our own, the possibilities that we have, that we need to X off, that we need to either confirm or, because you see, there are some that believe it's only Delirious. Only Delirious' FBI and CID reports that Richard's remains are at Kilometer 29. Okay? But it's not just Delirious is one of them. It's others. It's the FBI. Okay? It's the FBI. It's the State Department. So we have not only Delirious saying that it's possible that Richard's remains are buried at kilometer 29, partial remains, but it is the FBI saying it. It is the State Department saying it. It's Lieutenant Colonel Ali Payne, the PAO for Lieutenant Colonel Bernabe, saying it. And it is also in that same report that Ali Payne was saying that the general was not only working with the State Department to find Richard's remains in Mexico, but also to find his remains at the mock Afghanistan training area on Fort Bliss. Okay? So, and we have more. We have more because we have the autopsy reports and we have the Simcoe autopsy report, right? So we also have Rob's statement to the Chihuahua government, state of Chihuahua, the North Zone, being tampered with. Okay, so we have new information, new set of parameters, or should I say a new strategy of why we want to look at kilometer 29. And we should, with all the information that we have, re-look at it with new eyes, a different strategy, with institutional support. And so this time we're getting institutional support. It's not us raising money and getting some people to go there, which was a very good thing. It was a great thing, right? But we're going to use a new strategy this time to do the after action report, because we had an after action report, and that after action report was never fulfilled. They never did what we had asked them to do, what they said they would do once we started there. So now we're getting that support, and we're not going to turn it down. Okay? We're not going to turn it down for anybody. We want this to be looked at. So that's really important for everyone to know. What is kilometer 29? Kilometer 29, okay, let me show it to you. That's a good question, and I think I have it here. Okay. Let me see if I can get this going. Okay. Okay. I hope that everyone can see that. So this is kilometer 29 here. Okay. And I have a different map but this is the area that, this whole area here. There's some other areas, but this is the important area. And if you look at the map, you can see here is El Paso, and kilometer 29, you come down here, you go up this road, right? And if you follow this road up north, it will lead to New Mexico. I believe so. Yep, there it is. And this is the Santa Teresa Port of Entry. Okay, so this is the Santa Teresa Port of Entry. This is the Sunland Park Airport, which is a point of interest. Okay, and so this is how they would have traveled down here. And here is an OXO right here, if you can see my marker. And then you would drive this way. And this is where the report is. that is of interest. And there's other areas too, because remember, they were looking in 5 places. So, but this is the known area. These are the known coordinates. And we are going to relook at that. Um, any kind of landing strip uh, is a point of interest if it is. So these are all Shadow Mountain runway um, is also a point of interest. Biggs Airfield is a point of interest. These 3 points here are a point of interest. And so, of course, Red Rio Range is a point of interest. And, so we're very transparent because we want and we have begged, and now we're getting the institutional support because Richard is absolutely presumed dead in their mind now. And they know they already have his remains, y'all. They already have it. And they know that too much time has gone by and there's too many people looking at this case. You are our best friends in this whole thing, because if people are paying attention, then that drives them to do their duty. And that's very, very important. And I want to say thank you so much. And that's why every night except for Good Friday, I come on. And I hope that helps you, Mitzi. I hope that helps you. So there's the thing about Kilometer 29 also is it's surrounded by orphanages or like child centers, shelters, and that's a little concerning to us, given what we know. So it needs to be relooked at. And if there's any evidence of the tactical move storage units there, if there's any evidence of Richard's remains, or certain other things that we're looking at, we just need to know. We just need to know. And that's really important. The other very important point is July 9th, 2020. Okay? July 9th, 2020 is a very important date because Richard signed a very important agreement. The agreement to dismiss his fake staged DUI. So when he became a whistleblower, Richard does not have a criminal record at all. He's never had a criminal record. The federal criminal database has confirmed he's never been on there. And so this is another thing that is more than just delirious. If Richard was a deserter, by now he would be considered, or, in between that time before he was designated the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, during that time between August and November, right? November 25th, Thanksgiving, is when he was designated. We were told he was designated a deserter, okay? If that was the case, then the Federal Criminal Register, the database, would say from this time period, he was considered a deserter. Then that would mean he had committed a federal crime. So his name would show up. But there is no Richard Halliday there. There's no Richard Carroll Halliday on that database. And so, he's never been officially designated a deserter. That means they knew what happened to him. And they were looking for his remains. They knew he was dismembered. Now, that is very crucial evidence. I'm not allowed to get emotional on all of that, as much as it's like, I cannot tell you how much pain we have gone through with all of this. But That is crucial information because Richard is the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier. What does that mean? He came right after Vanessa Guillen. Vanessa Guillen was found at the end of June, and they announced that those remains that they had found were Vanessa Guillen, I believe, on July 5th. So Richard went missing shortly after that. On July 9th, before he went missing, after suffering retaliation, we're talking about GOMARs, permanent GOMARs, bullying, a Chapter 14, a reduction of 3 ranks, 45 days of extra duty wearing full battle gear, 50% of his pay for 2 months, 60 days of restriction, couldn't move, couldn't go anywhere. So, and and altercations, okay, suffering altercations. So he had gone through all of that because the leadership said because he committed the crime of underage drinking. He committed the crime of a 0.04 BAC. Okay? And because of that, they had to do all of that to him. Okay? That's what they said. And this case, of course, goes way before July 9th, 2020. And in the end of 2018 and the end of 2019 and into the very beginning of 2020, he made complaints. And the retaliation started with a fake DUI. Why would they do that to him? Why would they set him up in a parking lot at midnight, call their cop friend to come and arrest him without a video, without any kind of evidence to back him up, right? But just arrest him and claim that he was a DUI. There was no, beer open container, no alcohol in the vehicle at all, right? He was not drunk. He never, ever let go of his innocence. He maintained his innocence throughout this whole thing. He refused to cooperate with their narrative. He maintained his innocence, which, is just praise God, right? Because he knew he was right. And there was no cop video, right? And normally if they stop you, they have to turn on the lights, and a video automatically starts when they turn on their cop lights, right? Their police lights. There is no video. They have no proof. And so they use that stop to say he had a DUI. He was an underage drunk driver. They told Stars and Stripes, where's Stars and Stripes, to retract all of this? They told Stars and Stripes that Richard was a drunk driver. Okay? And then they proceeded to use that to retaliate against him with all of their tools that they turned into weapons against him. It's really despicable. But on July 9th, a beautiful thing happened. Even with all of that, we did receive institutional support. Unknowing to us, we received institutional support because downtown El Paso, that judge said, there's no evidence. He has maintained his innocence. We presume him to be innocent, as we should. And There is no evidence of any wrongdoing, so he is innocent. But he's been, falsely set up. That was the whole thing, because he was a whistleblower and they were trying to discredit him as a whistleblower. They were trying to give him that criminal history to discredit him as a criminal. But he's not discredited. He has no criminal record, because on July 9th, the judge, the downtown El Paso said, no, we presume him to be innocent, and we agree to have his the allegations against him dropped. So the whole case against Richard for that January 27th setup job DUI was dropped on July 9th, 2020. Richard had to sign it. Richard had to sign it. He was a happy guy. He was happy. He was not like, oh my gosh, they got me now. No, he's saying, now I get my ranks back. Now I get my pay back. Now I get some extra cash for my pain and suffering for the last months that they've did this to me. Okay? He was a happy guy on that day, because he won. He got institutional support from downtown Fort Bliss on that day. But it made Major General Clem Coward not happy. It made Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick not happy. And whoever else participated in the retaliation, the unjust retaliation, extreme and constant extreme retaliation that they gave him for months. For months. And now he was happy, because they had to apologize to him, and they had to reestablish him. They did not do the right thing. I believe that they decided to kill him, because not only did they have to give him restitution and give him back his rank and establish what they had done to him, but he was a whistleblower. He had information. This made him very credible. July 9th made him very credible, because even downtown El Paso deemed him to be innocent. So he won that. And that is, that's a very, very important date. And you would think that a general would have their service members back, that they would have their soldiers back, that they, especially having suffered the way Richard suffered. And Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe said, woo, that was, Michael Roddick really did some stretching there with making him wear his full battle gear for 45 days in May and June in El Paso. He goes, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. That was a little extreme. That was pretty brutal. And that was in addition to the allowable punishment. So Michael Roddick had gone over and above the allowable punishment. That means he abused his power. He abused his power after he had weaponized the tools that we entrust to them. Okay? So he abused his power on every end of the stick there. But, yeah. And I don't know what part he played in the demise of my son. I don't know. I don't know what part. Major General Clem Coward played, because I know that he did not search for Richard. He called off the search for Richard. He did not follow protocol. So they have a lot to answer for in what happened to Richard. And, they get other people to be their proxy criminals, right? They get others to do the dirty work for them. But they're the ones that signed the GOMAR, the permanent GOMAR, the chaptering, and the field grade Article 15. They're the ones that did, this official waterless waterboarding to Richard. And it all fell apart on July 9th, 2020. And what's really sickening about the whole thing is that dirty agent Marlon Soto knew this. The SJA McGee, right? SJA McGee. I think he might lose his license out of this, because he continually, meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 3, I have it up there on that board. He continually maintained that, and even told us and my husband, we were like, this is not punitive in the sense you're talking to. And Richard maintained his innocence. And what about the court martial? And he was like, if Richard would have gone court martial, he could have got 6 years in prison. And we were like, is that what you told him? Because no way would he have gotten that. That's a misrepresentation of the law, right? That's a misrepresentation of the law. We know that now. And, we're like, that's intimidation. Is that what you told him? So what part did McGee tell him that? Because then he's culpable too. That means he's the right-hand man of Sean Bernabe, of, was it the General White or whatever, the general before that? Were they in on it too? Right? I mean, what kind of power does Lonnie Hart have over these people? Because all these little roads from these people lead to Lonnie Hart. Okay? She's bragging she controls the law enforcement there on Fort Bliss. I control it. Right? So, what are they covering up? And why are they giving this lady, the mother of Richard's platoon leader, this power that empowers Dallas Hart? Of course. It empowers him when his mother and father have so much control over the other people that are supposed to be doing their duty and having our soldiers back. But we went to meeting and they never told us about the PTD, the agreement to dismiss Richard's case that Richard signed. Okay? They never told us. And we've had to figure all this stuff out. But the betrayal, because we pay our we pay our tax money so that not everyone has to be knowledgeable in all things. I can't be a doctor. I can't be a lawyer. I have other things that I have to do, right? So we pay our tax money and we go to these meetings and we depend on that this general, that this CID dirty agent tells us the truth, that the lawyer tells us the truth. But they took us for a ride to cover up the murder of our son. And they did it for months. They've done it for years. But see, there is this institutional shifting. and the institutional help is there. Yes, there's the dirty agent, right? There is the dirty general. There is the dirty SJA. They're dirty. They need to be stripped from those beautiful uniforms with their beautiful stars and stripes. They need to be stripped um, because they're defiling our military. They're defiling our uniform. And it's so clear that they are, because if they wanted to stop the crime, if they wanted to stop the rapes, if they wanted to stop the drug use, if they wanted to stop the alcohol, if they wanted to stop the young party girls being brought in during the COVID lockdown, if they wanted to stop all this stuff, they could do it. Because it's not a democracy. The military is not. They have power to give orders, to click heels together, and to make changes in a day. And they could do it, and they choose not to. They could prevent the suicides, and we just heard there's another suicide. They could prevent the suicides. They could prevent the murders, because there's been another murder, right? They could prevent the murders. They could prevent the rapes. They could prevent the sexual harassment. They could prevent all the drug use. They could be a really honorable, strong, fighting force. But they choose not to. They choose to cover up for these criminals that have a drug trafficking and narcotics trafficking business plan, that have a weapons smuggling business plan, that have a human child sex trafficking business plan, that have a child porn business plan. That's who they are supporting and backing. Seems like it to me. And absolutely, they could have got us justice for our son and been an example. And, of course, hold those accountable. And I think that would be Clem Coward. I think that would be Dallas Hart. I think that would be Leilani Hart. I think that would be many people in this. A long list. And, we've been given, this is breaking news too. We, of course, have mentioned Judge Robert Shook, who has also rather commit a crime and risk his license than to give us the open records in our son's case. Okay? That's startling. But then there's another judge that has come to our attention on the civilian side, and that's Judge Penny Hamilton. So if you know her, we are getting information that she is involved with like Leilani's case, right? So she was involved in decisions about the civilian side, and none of this was covered. So it's kind of like the autopsy reports. Nobody wants to admit it. No one wants to say yay or nay. And now we know, Judge Robert Shook, he left real quick. So I'm going to say Judge Penny Hamilton, is she going to leave real quick? I don't know. Because everything has been this hush hush, but the truth is coming out. People's names are coming up. You cannot keep everything silent forever. The truth gets out. And so she's, we'd like confirmation. Did she or did she not work on Richard Halliday's case? So that's huge news too. So I know there's always so much, and I will I'm so glad I came on a little bit earlier today. It's Friday, so I hope you enjoy your the rest of your night. And I will be back on tomorrow. Let me see if I. Our military higher ups are a joke. Yeah, 44 four-star generals and admirals, and they have the choice, and they choose not to. And we only had, to put that in perspective, we had 10 times more service members in World War II, and we only had 7 four-star generals and admirals. So that puts things in perspective. You know, we have 44 now. We're so top heavy. We're so top heavy, and they're up to no good. Well, they've betrayed us, and they're serving foreign and domestic enemies with leaders like that. Who needs enemies? And now they are on their way to the Middle East with these types of leaders. And, pray for our sons and daughters. Pray for them, because not so much because of the enemy, but because of their leaders. Because with leaders like this, who needs enemies, right? I mean, they make the most insane decisions. They don't care a flip about the lives of our sons and daughters. And, they just care about their business plans. And the stock market has had a little bit of a rough time. It's I think it's going to go down. I don't know. I'm just, there's certain points in that market where when it hits it, it indicates where it's going to go. And so they're interested in their business plan. And you know what? Hell with the business plan. We need to think about our sons and daughters of this country and doing what is right. And doing what is right. And so, you know, I don't. We need to hold these leaders accountable, and we need to say it out loud. We need to say it out loud, because what are the chances of replacing them? It's pretty slim, right? It's pretty slim. We got what we got, but we can watch them. We can watch them like peregrine falcons. We can watch them, and we can let them know that we're watching them, and we can tell them how we feel, and we can hold their feet to the fire while they are doing what they're doing. And, I think that will prevent some of their insane decisions. So I think so. I don't know, but I think so. And, at least it's better than doing nothing. It's better than doing nothing and let them, just run havoc and hell and death to our service members, and make them suffer, and, then have PTSD, and then be on medication for so long. And once you get on that medication, it's so hard to get off. It's just so tough for them. So, these insane leaders, um, they need to be watched constantly. Yeah. They're our general. They work for us. You know that, right? We all know that. They work for us. And we need to remind them that they work for us. And these crazy business schemes that they have that are criminal, totally criminal, need to end. And, that's, and that's me saying that because of 3 years of investigating our sons' living conditions on Fort Bliss, and it was so bad, y'all. So bad. 14-year-old girls living in the barracks, being prostituted out to these young soldiers. Young party girls being brought into dangerous barracks full of weapons and drugs and alcohol and party to like, go in there and get PTSD, or go get an STD, right? Go get an STD, and they're given these passes by the DES, Thomas Kane, and and the command sergeant major is bragging about it. We brought them in during the COVID lockdown. Like not even looking over his shoulder, not even being ashamed of it. It's like, wow, was your daughter one of them? I mean, who is this guy? Was he going to make sure they were 6 feet apart or something? No. He knew exactly what he was doing. And he didn't even shake on that part. He shook a lot. But he didn't shake on that. And that, to me, was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. The enemy within. Yep, exactly. So, so I hope that James Hart protects his family. I hope that Dallas Hart, reveals that he disclosed his past to the military when he joined the military. I hope that he had, did the right thing, and and you know, and if they feel like their name has been damaged and tarnished, it hasn't been by me. It has been by Leilani Hart, their mother, their wife. And they need to press charges. They need to press charges so that people know where they stand. And, that's our opinion. So thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.